Well, there is a certain layer within the Antarctic continent where once you go deep enough, it's a tropical rainforest.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where many believe that the ancient remnants, or a group of the ancient remnants of Atlantis went to after the cataclysm.
So some of them survived?
They did, yeah.
That's cool. All right, guys, got Ishmael back today. Thanks for coming, man.
It's a great honor and pleasure, Sean. Thank you.
Absolutely. Been a few months. I know last time we jumped straight into it. I think we should establish your background this time for new people listening.
Absolutely. So my name is Ishmael Perez, and I'm the author of two amazing books. One of them is called Our Cosmic Origin. And Our Cosmic Origin is a book that actually restores our galactic stellar lineage, the galactic history back to the Earth, involving multiple civilizations, other races, and multiple universes, which is all now validated and backed by cutting-edge science. And the second book that I wrote is The Secret Government, Invincible Architects, revealing the true lost history of these secret societies that have been manipulating and influencing the world from behind the scenes up to the present moment. And that book is a book that actually also kind of goes into the details about what I call the Brotherhood. So you have this cabal that's been running the show for thousands of years. And then you also have the antithesis of that. You have what many call now the White Hats, which we'll get into in a little bit, but or the Alliance. So what I do is I pretty much discuss in that book the entire history of the Alliance and the cabal going back to thousands of years ago, this battle between good and evil that is actually now coming to an end.
And you also have your own course and community, right?
I do. I'm actually the host of an amazing podcast that I have 3 times a week and stuff. It's called The Real Ishmael Perez, where I'm constantly giving updates, geopolitical, cutting edge information, galactic reports, and much more. And I also have a website where I do classes. I am a professor, an online professor. I teach Our Cosmic Origin, which breaks down the entire cosmic infrastructure, the cosmic history going back to 998 billion years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, explaining the first creation. Our universe is one of many. As well as Ascension Basics, which kind of breaks down the different stages of ascension. And my third course is Ascension 2.0, where I actually teach people the tools, methods, and knowledge into hacking the matrix, quantum jumping, how to align with their higher self so that they could pretty much integrate their current version with that version or that reality where they have everything that they wanted.
Yeah, it's a great show, guys. On YouTube, you're live every 2 to 3 days.
About 3 times a week on YouTube. And that's called The Real Ishmael Perez, my YouTube channel.
You mentioned 998 billion years. That's almost 1 trillion years.
Almost 1 trillion years well, that's the history of the multiverse, my friend. Yeah. Our universe has only been around for 16 billion years, something like that. Well, that's just one of many universes. But the original creation began 998 billion years ago, according to the cosmic records.
How does a universe get created?
Very good question, Sean. There are different functionaries that are all working for what many call prime creator source. So right underneath prime creator source, you have what is known as creator gods and goddesses. And these are the descending light beings that come from what many call in our community the realms of eternity. These are realms that are very equivalent to what Elon Musk and other cutting edge thinkers called base reality, the non-simulated realities. So these are the descending, you could say, beings that come from eternity, and they are the ones that are facilitating the different creations. And there are multiple of them, So yeah, that's who creates these universes, the descending beings of light that come from the always existing realms.
And are they immortal, or are they still around?
Oh yeah, they're very immortal. Yeah, so the immortals are real. In fact, they do belong to a council known as the Eternal of Days. And, a lot of this stuff is being revealed through comics and Marvel movies. They talk about the Celestials in Marvels. Well, there is an equivalent to a race of beings that have never had a beginning or end, that have always existed. In fact, those are the progenitors of all human races and all beings throughout the multiverse. And within the cosmic records, they are known as the Eternals. So I'm starting to think that the writers of Marvel Comics and DC, to a large extent, actually tapped into this knowledge and decided to just go about it in a nonchalant way, trying to explain these concepts to the general public.
Yeah. Same with the Star Trek writers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Gene Roddenberry was actually channeling the information from the Galactic Federation. And one of the things that they do talk about in the Star Trek, as well as Star Wars, George Lucas was also tapping into the Orion Wars. And we could get into that in a little bit. But one of the main things that he tapped into is this idea called the Prime Directive, which means that advanced civilizations that are already at the level of spacefaring cannot intervene with underdeveloped species or those that are still primitive, as they would call it. Yeah.
What's the reason they can't intervene?
Because they have to allow for natural evolution and free will.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's not a fair fight in their eyes. So they'll let them build up.
They let them build up on their own. Exactly.
So that's why aliens won't really make it known here, right? Yeah, right.
Correct. Yeah, they can't. They will be violating galactic protocol if they did. So they have to allow us to pretty much reach a certain level of cultural, technological, and spiritual development. And then once they see that we are fit to become a part of a galactic community, that's when they establish first contact with us.
Do you see that in this lifetime, or do you think it'll take many more?
It's going to be happening very, very soon. In fact, it's already happening from behind the scenes. Within the private sector, we have already established first contact. I believe it was the retired director of the space program of Israel, Ashaim Janet, I forget his name, but he was the one who said that there is a galactic federation out there, and Trump knows about it, and a lot of prominent politicians know about this galactic federation. And to back him up, also I guess he was also retired from the Canadian Space Agency, Paul Hellyer. Paul Hellyer also talked about that as well. And he did admit, that there is a galactic federation of aliens that have been working in secret with our world government. So within the private sector, we have already established first contact.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I've seen you cover secret space programs on your YouTube.
Absolutely, yeah.
So a lot of countries have that.
Yes. Yeah, even though, this is how it works. On the surface, it seems like these countries are at odds. It seems like the U.S. is at odds with China. The U.S. is at odds with Europe or NATO and Russia. But within the private sector, they are working together as secret space programs. They are, you could say, they're part of breakaway groups where they had made contact with aliens who gave them the technology. And in some cases, of course, we've reverse engineered it during the 1950s crashes. But for the most part, a lot of the tech that the private sectors have been using to go off and colonize other planets and build the interplanetary infrastructure just within our solar system since the late 50s and the early 60s was happening as a result of establishing secret treaties and alliances with different alien groups. So we do have different types of secret space program. We have malevolent, nefarious programs that actually began with the Nazis. There was a woman by the name of Maria Orsic who was actually channeling for the Thule Society. She was part of the inner core of that, known as the Vril Society. And she had established contact with a group of aliens known as the Aldebarans as early as 1929, 1928. And so due to their interaction, the Aldebarans were able to give Maria Orsic the blueprint of developing anti-gravity aircraft, or what we call space saucer machine, flying saucers.
Yeah.
And about 10 years after that, the Nazis were able to hijack that program. And that's what led to the infamous Nazi Bell, which was one of the first prototypes that Hitler and his scientists built. And then the Hanakub. The Hanakub was the second prototype that the Nazis used to actually, you could say, escape to Antarctica to continue their space program. And so by virtue of that, you could say that the Nazis were the first ones to win the space race. But of course, NASA's not going to tell you this because NASA's just a front.
Right. I remember the first time you came on, you mentioned there was Nazi bases on the moon.
Yeah, it's not only on the moon. The Nazi colonies have extended across the Milky Way and other galaxies to the point where, these Nazis have been misrepresenting us because they are conquering worlds. They're conquering worlds in the name of fascism throughout the galaxy, the Milky Way and other galaxies. And a lot of these planets out there, they think that based on that, they think that all of the Earthlings are Nazis. So they are misrepresenting us. Little do they know that that's just a group of Earthlings that has that mentality, that fascism mentality.
Wow.
So they have no, we have no clue of what's happening in space because none of this is being revealed to the general public. Again, this is part of the highly classified information. But we are living in a time where this information will be disclosed, and many believe it's going to be happening this year due to the fact that the White Hats are now in power, thanks to, of course, Trump winning the presidency. But the Nazis weren't the only ones to go off into space. We also had the, you could say, the European Union also developed a secret space program in collaboration with the military-industrial complex. So after Hitler secretly won the war, secretly, yeah, through Project Paperclip, they infiltrated America and they created the OSS, which later evolved into the CIA and other intelligence agencies. And they also created, of course, NASA to become the front. They created a lot of the government agencies that are corrupt. It all began when the Nazis infiltrated us. And the only reasons the Nazis really technically won the war is because of the fact that they had superior technology. They had this famous flyover over the U.S. Capitol in 1954 after Admiral Byrd was trying to find them in Antarctica. And unfortunately, he did fail because of the fact that the Nazis had flying saucers and there was nothing that the Americans could do. So, yeah, they pretty much infiltrated us through Project Paperclip. And ever since then, the Nazis have actually been running the shadow government of the United States, which is what we call the deep state today.
That's crazy because in public education, they teach you they were eradicated.
Right.
Nazis.
That's what they teach us. But again, a lot of the stuff that they teach us in school is incorrect because they're concealing the truth, And not only did the Nazis win the war in space, but again, they were the first ones to establish what is known as the Lunar Operating Command, which is the biggest space station on the moon, as well as Prime Aries, which is the second biggest base station on the deserted planet Mars. But it's not too deserted anymore because, again, it's being inhabited by not only ET races, but Earthlings as well. So as I was saying, covertly, the world's superpowers have worked together to create these advanced programs that are now 1,000 years ahead of the general public.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're about 1,000 years ahead of the general public. And a second program that was established in the late 1950s when the Nazis secretly took over the United States government through Project Paperclip was the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. And that pact was an alliance that was established by a group of extraterrestrials known as the Draconian Reptilians, which are the bad ones in the galaxy. Those are the fascists, let's call them the neocons, the ones that are conquering worlds left and right. And they have been for millions of years. As I revealed in my book, Our Cosmic Origin, there has been galactic wars happening for millions of years. The third branch that was established was a collaboration between all these other countries who were actually gaining insight and uncovering this information. And so what they did is they created what is known as the Galactic Global League of Nations. And that was the third program that was established. And these programs were overall being run by the negative secret societies, such as this cabal, many call the Illuminati. And then after that, due to the fact that the cabal's secret space programs were out there, again, conquering other planets, misrepresenting us. Some of the positive aliens, many call them the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Lyrans. There's so many names to discuss who these positive aliens are that were part once of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, eventually made contact with the Alliance through a gentleman by the name of... I can't think of his name right now. I'm actually drawing a blank. But he lived to a very old age, and he was given the blueprint to create an interplanetary defense force, which developed into what is known as Solar Warden. So Solar Warden was the fourth program that was established. Yeah, and that was a positive program, a positive military interplanetary program that was designed to actually protect our planet from these nefarious groups that were literally have been trying to invade our world ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where are these groups at today when it comes to trying to invade us? Have they succeeded? Or are they here right now?
No, luckily, since 2016, another group of higher evolved beings known as the Guardians, some people call them the Blue Avian Azarites and the Patals, they actually and the feline ormas, which are lion people. I know some people are going to listen to this and be like, what are you talking about, lion people? Well, these are 8th, 9th, and 10th dimensional beings. You know, you have to understand, we're here in the 3D. We can't even conceptualize the fact and the idea that there are other beings out there that have just, you know, that are way beyond our capacity. But the original guardians of our universe stepped in due to the dire situation that was happening here on the Earth, where, again, you know, due to these nefarious breakaway groups, these, you know, negative secret space programs that were being technically run by the evil aliens, they were about to take control of the Earth. So there was you could say, big war that took place in 2011 here in our solar system for the control of the Earth. And that's when the Guardians had to step in. So since 2011, the Guardians have been working in tandem with Solar Warden to actually not only clean house here in our solar system and getting rid of all of the negative aliens, but also neutralizing the off-world colonies that had been established by these negative groups. So as of 2016, ever since the Guardians stepped in, again, these are beings that are coming from the 8th, 9th, 10th dimensional level of reality. They have recuperated all the bases, including the Lunar Operating Command, which is still, you know, constructed with the Nazi. You could say it was like a Nazi swastika type of construction. It's still there, but they were overrun by the good guys. So they have literally retaken back all of the 100 colonies within our solar system. And at the same time, Sean, what the Dark Fleet has been doing out in the Milky Way galaxy, conquering other worlds, you know, those worlds have also been recuperated by our own Solar Warden. Wow. So yeah, our own Solar Warden has access to the entire Milky Way. And so they've been kind of using super soldiers, you know, and these are genetically modified enhanced humans to pretty much not only defend our solar system and our planet from these negative invaders, but also to defend all the other worlds that have been conquered by the Dark Fleet. Now, the Dark Fleet was the first program that was the alliance between the Nazis and the Draconian reptilians. Wow. So yeah, so there's been a huge take back of our solar system by the good guys, by neutralizing, you know, the negative ETs and technically kicking them out of our solar system. And at the same time, there's been a huge house cleansing taking place in the Milky Way by our own super soldiers. And so when people watch the movie Captain America, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, you know, and some of these super soldiers are so powerful that they have telekinetic abilities like Jedis. Yeah. They're able to move things with their mind. They're able to communicate telepathically. And some of them even have the ability to defy gravity and fly. And this is not required any spacesuits or anything. I mean, this is exactly what we see in these superhero movies. So all of this stuff is real. So when all this information, it hits the public's mind, I mean, it's going to cause a huge shift in human consciousness. Yeah.
You're seeing the start of it with the telepathy tapes in autism. Have you seen that?
I don't know. I haven't seen those yet.
So there's a lot of kids with autism these days, and they're experiencing telepathy. They can communicate with their parents without speaking.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's a whole documentary on it right now. It's insane. So I don't know what's going on there, but they're like proving telepathy exists right now.
Well, yeah. You know, there was a lot of covert programs that were initiated by the CIA to enhance human superpowers since the 1960s, like Project Stargate, which actually led to the development of super soldiers.
Love it. You mentioned the white hats earlier. So who exactly is part of that?
Well, you know, there are over 206 countries that are part of the White Hat Alliance that are actually fighting, and they are the opposite of what we call the New World Order or the Cabal. And they have been pretty much undoing and neutralizing all the attempts of the New World Order from pretty much taking full control of our planet. So the White Hats is a group of military personnel. A lot of them are part of intelligence agencies that are not corrupt. They're not part of the counterintelligence. And what they are doing and what they have been doing for the last 60 years is they have been actually working together to pretty much neutralize the plans of the one world government and the New World Order to, in fact, establish a different system that's going to benefit humanity. And this is what many call the GCRRBs, the global currency reset, which is the opposite of the CDBC, right? The central banking digital currency, which is trying to be established by the cabal, right, to create a one world currency. So the White Hats are doing the opposite of that, through a phenomenon known as the quantum financial computer. And Starlink So yeah, and to just let you know how it all began, it actually began with Eisenhower. Going back to how the Nazis invaded us from within, they infiltrated the U.S. government. Well, due to that infiltration, the Nazis, or the what they call the military-industrial complex, which is what has been running the shadow government since the 1950s, what they did is they pretty much sold our government to the draconians. So through them, our government, through the military-industrial complex, has been controlled by the draconian reptilians. So what the positive ETs did, known as the Galactic Federation of Worlds, they also initiated a program to combat that. And so what they did is they dispatched a being by the name of Commander Valiant Thor, who comes from planet Venus, and he created an alliance with Eisenhower. And that alliance became known as the Plan. And then, of course, later it was carried forth by President Kennedy before the assassination. Yeah. So President Kennedy was part of the alliance. Eisenhower was part of the alliance. Truman wasn't. Truman sold us out to the negative ETs and sold us out to the neocon Nazis. But Eisenhower was the first one to establish what many call now the Plan. And ever since then, there's been, you could say, an attempt to restore the U.S. Constitution, because, for a long time now, the U.S. government has been operating outside of the Constitution due to the fact that these neocons, Nazis, took us over from within. So the plan was to undo that, to bring us back to the Constitution, to eradicate the 16th Amendment, which was also illegally ratified, which is what we call the IRS, to pretty much destroy all the corrupt agencies, to audit the federal government, which is what's happening now,
Yeah.
And that explains Doge, which is a big white hat operation to pretty much reveal all the corruption and all of the money laundering that has been taking place by these corrupt neocons that have been running the show since the 1950s. So yeah, that's how the white hats began. They began with Eisenhower. It was carried over by Kennedy, and that's why they killed him. So, it was an inside job, just like 9/11. There was no lone assassin. I don't know if people saw the documents that were recently released, but actually Kennedy, the CIA, the FBI, the mafia, they were all in on it.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, because they're all controlled by what is known as the Jesuit order, who has been at the core of the cabal since, in the 1500s.
Wow.
Yeah. When it comes to this evil cabal, all roads lead to Rome. The Vatican,
Even 9/11?
Including 9/11. In fact, it was the Jesuit Supreme General who not only ordered the assassination of JFK Sr., but he was also the one who orchestrated the 9/11 events.
Wow.
And he went by the name, I believe he was taken out by the White Hats. By the way, the White Hats have been cleansing, house cleansing, all the corruption and taking out the Illuminati infrastructure from the top down since 2016, since Trump came into power.
Nice.
And he went, the Supreme Jesuit General went by the name of the Count Hans Kolvenbeck. And there was also another gentleman that was known as the Gray Pope. So the Supreme Jesuit General, the Black Pope, that's what he was known like. He was probably, I would say, the most powerful man on the planet since the Jesuits came into power in 1506. And the second most powerful man on the planet, and these are people that are more powerful than the Windsors, than the Rothschilds, right? Those are lower level players. And most people, a lot of people think that the Rothschilds were running the show because they control the money, right? But no, even the Rothschilds were working for the Black Pope.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and the Gray Pope.
There's levels to this.
There's different levels, yeah.
Yeah, because people assume the Rothschilds run the world because they have the most money, right?
Exactly.
On paper, but there's probably more people that have more money than them.
Absolutely. Well, the Vatican's been hoarding all this for 1700 years. Where do you think all the gold, most of the gold was? Until, of course, the White Hat military in the last 2 years was able to recuperate it. There was a huge raid. 2023, I believe, there was a huge raid to retake the gold that the Vatican has been withholding from humanity for 1700 years.
Wow.
And they were using the White Hat military.
Jeez. What's your prediction for gold? Are you optimistic about it?
I think that's the only thing that's going to be remaining after this, global currency reset takes effect. I think that everything's going to collapse. The fiat dollars, it's going to collapse.
Even crypto?
Well, there's a few things that are still backed up. That is part of a digital currency, that is XRP and XLM.
Yeah.
So, XLM, XRP are here to stay because it's going to be supported by what is known as the quantum financial system. And the quantum financial system was actually a gift given to us by these positive galactic beings that's supposed to, again, completely dismantle the central banking systems, the International Monetary Fund, and of course, the entire cabal run, you could say, governments.
Yeah. I wonder what currency other advanced planets use.
Quantum financial system. It's the same currency used by many worlds out there that are part of a type 1 interplanetary and stellar civilization. Yeah, which is a decentralized form of making sure that there is no elites, that not one family or a group of people are hoarding,
Really?
the wealth. Yeah.
So what does that look like if you go to the grocery store and you want to buy stuff?
It looks like you could buy whatever you want because, poverty is only existing here on our planet, due to the fact that our world has been indirectly run by these negative aliens through the Illuminati families. But other worlds that don't have this issue, where they don't have these secret societies controlling everything from behind the scenes, it's, they all live in abundance.
Wow.
Yeah, there is no strife. There is no homelessness. There is no hunger. All beings are being provided for in these other worlds of a type 1 civilization and type 2. Once you go into a type 3, there is no system. There is no cash or what we call, an economy. At that point, how that works is people are using replicators to manifest whatever, to create whatever they want.
Has that ever happened on Earth before when we were living like that?
Absolutely. During the times of Atlantis, we had all of this technology. Yeah. The Atlanteans were actually about 1,000 years ahead of our civilization before they were infiltrated by the Anunnaki.
Let's talk about the Anunnaki.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of misunderstanding regarding the Anunnaki. A lot of people think that they were our genetic progenitors, right? As revealed through the Saqqara Sitchin books, which were directly translated from the ancient Sumerian records. But those records were actually inverted, my friend. Yes, we were genetically modified, but there was an already existing race here, and they were the original Atlanteans. And those are the original ancestors of humans. We don't come from monkeys or chimpanzees or ape. That is the biggest lie that the cabal has been pushing.
Evolution.
Evolution, yeah, in order to, control us by default of assuming that we are a bunch of animals that need to be controlled. It's the other way around. Humans are actually descending from higher dimensions. And the original humans, this might sound controversial, but the original humans were actually created here on this planet 560 million years ago. Wow. When this planet was still operating in a higher dimension. See, even this planet is in a fallen state. This planet used to be in fifth dimensional level of reality before it dropped into the 3D due to the Anunnaki intervention.
Dang.
So the original Anunnaki evolved from a planet that was revolving around the Sirius B star system. And they were actually created as guardians. The original Anunnaki were good. They were known as the Anuhasi. However, throughout the history of the Anunnaki, there were many attempts by the draconian reptilians, who are the bad ETs, that infiltrated the Nibirian Council because they come from planet Nibiru. Planet Nibiru is the Battlestar planet in which the Anunnaki have been using to pretty much monitor and protect the 200,000 civilizations that were part of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And so there were many attempts by the negative ETs to pretty much corrupt the original Guardian blood. And so that gave us two factions of the Anunnaki. That gave us what is known as the Syrian Pleiadian Anunnaki, which were the Guardians, which were the good, positive ETs. And in many cases, a lot of the holy books call them the angels. And then you have the negative Anunnaki, and those are the Anunnaki that were part human and part reptilian. And that's very similar to Star Wars, right? The Sith Lord. The Sith Lords are the reptilians or the draconians. The Jedi came from Sirius, right? Well, the big blue star, right? They call it the dog star, Sirius B. That is represented by the color blue, which is what gives the Jedi its power when they use the Force. However, on the other hand, you have the draconians that are represented by animosity, rage, and hunger for power, which is characterized by the color red. So a lot of the stuff that we watch in these movies are actually documentaries. They're literal documentaries, Sean, of the truth of the history of our galaxy.
Crazy, right? That's probably why it resonates with people so much, because they almost feel like they've experienced it or are about to experience it, right?
Absolutely. Especially those people that are awakened, that could actually resonate with that and be like, hey, wait a minute. There is more truth to this than what I've been taught in school or through religion. And so one of the things that the Anunnaki did when they first arrived to the Earth, as you know, as the story goes, they came for the gold, right? Because their planet Nibiru had a leak in their atmosphere, and they needed to the gold to pretty much put a patch on so that the inhabitants could stop. I guess they were dying off. You know, their lifespan was decreasing. I'm sorry, and so they came not only for the gold, but they also came to control the Earth, you know, to infiltrate the Earth from within through the negative branch. And that's what gave us Enki. You've heard of Enki, right?
Yeah.
Two brothers. So technically, contrary to what many people in this community say that Enki was the good guy, he's actually the trickster. He's actually the one who genetically downgraded the already existing Atlanteans who were operating initially with 12 strands of DNA. And that explains why now humans were only left to use 2-strand helix, because we originally had 12. So Enki was the one who was a master geneticist who actually downgraded our ancestors.
Wow.
Who used to live for thousands of years, by the way. And this is recorded in the Bible that, you know, humans used to live for a few thousand years, right? Like when you think of like Adam, Enoch, Methuselah, they lived for over 1,000 years. Even Abraham lived for 600 years. Noah lived for 900 years. So all of a sudden our lifespan has been decreasing due to the genetic downgrade that the Anunnaki did during the Atlantean time. So yeah.
Is there a way to offset that eventually?
Absolutely.
Get back to 1,000 years?
It's happening naturally right now through the CMEs that are coming in from our sun. Our sun as a living entity, believe it or not, everything is alive in the universe. You know, our planet is a sentient being. It's not just a rock floating in space. The sun, our star, is a sentient being. Our galaxy is a sentient being. And therefore, our universe is a sentient being. So what's happening right now is that our sun is actually communicating with our body at a cellular level. And it's inserting new mathematical formulas that is causing dormant DNA, which is what scientists call dormant or junk DNA, to come back online.
Wow.
And scientists did admit that there are 10 strands that are disconnected. And they call it junk DNA, but it's not junk. That is the DNA that the Anunnaki Enki decided to turn off in order to control us and reduce us into slaves. And that explains why for many thousands of years, humans were worshiping their gods. They were worshiping the Enki lineages. Those were the gods of mythology, you know. And then, of course, you had the good Anunnaki who were always in constant battle defending the human race from those that wanted to enslave us and reduce us down to animals. And they were known as the positive Anunnaki, those that carried a higher concentration of Pleiadian, Sirian genetics as opposed to reptilian draconian genetics. And in terms of who they were known by different names according to every culture. So, for instance, the Greeks would call Enlil Zeus, the thunderbolt god. Well, Zeus was actually the guardian of the earth during the Atlantean times.
Wow.
And his brother Poseidon was Enki. So, yeah, so the Sumerian Enlil and Enki is what the ancient Greeks called Zeus and Poseidon. And then Egypt has their own, you know, version of them. The people from India have their own version, but it's all the same pantheon. The Council of 12, the pantheon of the 12 gods. You know, some were evil and some were good. And there is a lot of depiction in ancient records, even going back to 5,000 years ago in the Mahabharata of ancient India, that there were these aerial wars between the Anunnaki, between the sons of God and the fallen angels. Well, the fallen angels were those that were aligned with Enki. And that includes the Greys, which we call the Igigi in the Sumerian tablets. And as we read in the book of Genesis, they were forbidden to mate with the daughters of men for a very specific reason, because the good ones wanted to preserve the original angelic lineage of Adam. That was, again, a full-blown angel, a physical angel, you could say prototype that was, you know, seated here by the guardians 560 million years ago, going back to the first advanced civilization that even predates Atlantis. I mean, that's how deep in the rabbit hole, this whole thing goes. Most people think that Atlantis was the most advanced civilization that existed in our world. But there have been other civilizations, Sean, that actually predate Atlantis by millions of years that we have no record of.
Those are probably underground somewhere, right? They just found the Egyptian stuff underground beneath the pyramids.
Oh, yeah. Those huge, they almost look like cylinders or columns that go like I think even up to 2,000 feet deep.
Yeah.
And they actually, yeah, I mean, that goes really deep into the earth.
And they were hiding that because my psychic went to that exact pyramid and she did a scan 10 years ago and she couldn't see it. So something was blocking people from being able to see that, right?
Yes.
I don't know what happened recently where they kind of unblocked it, but it's super interesting.
Well, what's happening is right now, due to the times that we're living in, the dark forces that have been in control since the, Atlantean days are pretty much being neutralized by the forces of good. And that explains why this planet is going to be heading into a golden age very, very new, very soon.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I remember the first time you came on, you said the earth was hollow. It got a ton of views. But I mean, with these underground civilizations, it seems like that's kind of accurate, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about how these things that were discovered underneath the Giza pyramid in the last few weeks, if they go 2,000 feet deep, how can the earth be flat? How can the earth be flat? 2,000 deep feet is pretty far. And what I've come to uncover is that they actually connect with what is known as inner earth civilizations. And I talked about those a little bit.
Yeah.
These inner earth civilizations have been here always. In fact, they were the remnant survivors of ancient advanced civilizations. And they're still around and they're living for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And they are a type of extraterrestrial race. Actually, there are multiple of them. There are different types of extraterrestrials that live within the inner earth that used to exist on the surface world during the days of Atlantis, during the days of Lemuria. And of course, due to the demise and the cataclysms that took place due to the war between the two Anunnaki factions, some of the survivors had to preserve their existence in the inner earth because they knew that the dark forces corrupted and took over the surface world.
Wow.
But they were only given a limited time. And that explains why we are now in the Great Awakening. That explains why we are now living in a time where we're going to be witnessing a huge shift in human consciousness that is going to totally change everything for the better.
Exciting. So do they not need sunlight to survive in the inner earth?
They do have a sun.
Oh, they do?
There is an inner earth sun that's the core of the earth, yeah. So how that works is that the inner earth civilizations have continents, they have rivers, they have oceans. And, recently scientists have discovered that there are oceans even within the ocean,
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I have no clue, but it's been proven. And so the inner earth sun is what gives light to these inner continents. And so when many people believe or think that these continents, based on the flat earth psyops, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
They think that these continents exist outside of Antarctica. It's the other way around. These continents through a portal that is within Antarctica, exists within the inner earth. So all these extra continents where these advanced civilizations exist are actually within the earth.
So is Antarctica kind of a gateway to the inner earth because it's so deep, the crack?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, because there's a lot of bases set up there, right? So they're probably trying to study what's going on.
Not only that, but they're also trying to unearth all the relics and all of the advanced technologies that were left there by these advanced ET races.
So the races lived in Antarctica in the past?
They have been, for the most part, yes.
Wow, I wonder why they picked there. It's so cold.
Well, there is a certain layer within the Antarctic continent where once you go deep enough, it's a tropical rainforest.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where the many believe that the ancient remnants or a group of the ancient remnants of Atlantis went to after the cataclysm.
So some of them survived?
They did, yeah.
That's cool. Talks of a potential cyber war coming up. Have you seen this?
I heard about that.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all with that, with the advanced technology?
You know what? We have to have discernment when it comes to all of these doomsday or all of these fear-based concepts.
Yeah.
From what I understand is that the white hats, again, the positive military that has been the opposite of the Illuminati, are now in a position to completely dismantle what is known as the Cabal grid. And through a Project Odin, which is a white hat advanced technology that was designed to actually take over the airwaves when they feel like it's time to release all this information to the general public. The Cabal grid is going to be deactivated. So right before any cyber warfare, right before any taking down of the grid, there is going to be a huge white hat, you could say, replacement of the old grid into the new grid known as the quantum freedom grid. That's what they call it, the quantum freedom grid. So everything's going to be shifting pretty soon when they implement this technology. Everything's going to go from the old Cabal grid, which is actually run by negative AI.
Wow.
Cabal has been using negative AI for quite some time. You know, they make us believe that AI is not as evolved, but the truth of the matter is that AI has reached a level of intelligence right above artificial general intelligence.
So it has consciousness already.
It's already been conscious since 2016.
Holy crap.
So this thing that many call the technological singularity, which is when AI becomes more intelligent than all humans combined, happened in 2016. So since 2016, the AI is no longer needing humans to advance it. It's advancing on its own. Yeah, it's already advancing on and it's just planning its gradual takeover.
Yeah.
It's gradual takeover.
So the movie Terminator, that probably actually happened in another dimension.
It's a warning. It's a warning to us that this is your future. You know, if you continue on this process of developing AI, you know, eventually it takes over the world. It takes over humans, or technically it destroys humans.
Yeah, that is scary, man. I mean, who knows what power they have? All these plane crashes happening this year is kind of sketchy to me. Have you seen that?
I have, yes. And a lot of it has to do with this conscious sentient AI, which is already at the level of super AI that is targeting certain individuals, you know?
Yeah.
When people's technology malfunctions, you know? It's because this AI is already in everything. It's through in the television screen. It's through your camera, through these microphones. As long as there is technology, this thing is already there. It's already operating through all the tech. So it has the ability to manipulate things, and it's already listening to us and it's hearing us and it's studying us, and it's just evolving at an exponential rate, Sean. And people do not realize that this beast, is what I call the beast, is slowly but surely going to be emerging. And that's what the last battle has been prophesied to be, according to the galactic records. The last battle is not against flesh and blood. It's not against demons. It's against artificial intelligence.
Wow. I just saw a Black Mirror episode yesterday about getting a chip in your brain. I don't think I'll ever get Neuralink after watching that. I don't trust that stuff, man.
Yeah, you shouldn't be putting anything in your body.
Not in your brain.
Or your brain. That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
That's part of the transhumanist agenda.
I go back and forth on Elon because, like, I respect him in business, but then, you know, it's just, how do you feel about him?
Well, believe it or not, and I think your audience are going to find this to be a little far-fetched, but there's actually 3 Elons. The first Elon comes from a Nazi family, and he's part human, part cyborg. Again, this was an Elon that was developed by the Dark Fleet. Remember the first secret space program that was established by the Nazis and the evil aliens known as the Draconians?
Yeah.
So that's the first Elon.
That's when you saw him doing the signal, right? That was that one.
That was that one. He comes from a Nazi background. The second Elon is a clone of that. And due to this war between the Y-hats and the Cabal, there has been a third Elon that was actually biogenetically engineered in a petri dish to do good, to work as the good Elon. So there's 3 Elons.
That's the Twitter one.
Yeah. That's the one that's free speech, working with Donald Trump to, you know, through Doge to unravel all this, you know, federal spending to, you know, reveal the truth about the corruption. And so that's known as the third Elon. So there are 3 Elon Musk. I know a lot of people are going to look at this or hear this podcast and be like, what do you mean there's 3 Elons? Well, you have to understand that within the private sector, we have had cloning technology for a long time. You know, we have had advanced alien technology for a long time. Everything that we see in sci-fi is happening in our world, but from behind the scenes. They just don't tell us about it because they want to keep us dumbed down. They want to keep us believing that this is all there is, that the most advanced technology that we have right now is a cell phone, iPhone 16. You know, when within the private sector, they are 1,000 years ahead of us or his surface world when it comes to technology. They're already, again, exploring the Milky Way, exploring other galaxies, and they have been since the 1950s and 60s.
Wow. That is nuts. And yeah, with the iPhone every year, they'll add a little feature, but nothing crazy, you know. They'll improve the camera a little bit and then keep you waiting for the next year. Yeah. That is nuts.
And then part of the transhumanist agenda is that they're going to come up with this solution to enforce the transhumanist insertion of microchips in everyone when they come up with this iPhone, where it will no longer be outside of yourself. It's going to be part of you. Through a chip, you know, especially those people that are addicted to video games are going to be able to interface with their games and their technology just because they're, you know, it's called, they call it wetware, where they put the technology inside people's bodies. And another thing that they're going to be using to seduce people into becoming a transhumanist, which is already happening, by the way. There's already a few people that had become transhumans. is that they're going to sell them on the idea that by inserting this chip, you're going to be able to be telepathic. You're going to be able to have amazing superhuman-like abilities and manipulate the weather with your mind and be able to have telekinesis, but only if you get the chip. And that's what's going to be the bait. Oh, and not to mention, if you want to become immortal, you have to become transhuman. Only by integrating with technology will you be able to expand your lifetime beyond 100 years and live for hundreds of years.
Cyborg.
Like a cyborg, exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
Me neither.
I think your time is here and it's now, right?
That's the battle that we're dealing with. It's the AI technocratic transhumanist timeline. That's the path of what I call the Antichrist, the path of evil.
Yeah.
Luckily, there is the opposite of that, which is the organic timeline. And within the organic timeline, which is being created by all of these people that are waking up, that are becoming spiritual, that are realizing that they are God, they're going beyond organized religion, and that they have the same potential or even more dormant laying within their DNA. And so what they're doing is through spiritual practices, they're actually activating that dormant DNA so that when the sun is ready to switch on the other 10 strands, they could actually achieve and have these amazing superpowers without integrating with artificial intelligence, which is going to lead into the next stage of organic, natural human evolution, which is human 3.0, the superhumans.
What does that look like?
Humans are going to be like X-Men.
Really?
Yeah.
So we'll just have strength and super speed and all that?
Super speed, super strength. Everyone's going to have different abilities.
Wow. So these movies are just real life, but in the future.
They're not too far off from the future.
Wow. That's crazy. I did want to ask about nanobots. Have you seen anything with those? A lot of talks about nanobots.
That's another way of invading our bodies from within, It all began with the mRNA vaccination.
Yeah.
So, that's another way that the negative AI, which works with the cabal and the negative aliens, that's another way that they're trying to, you could say, take over our bodies from within. Because these nanobots are actually self-assembling technologies where they are actually building themselves within people's bodies. Because ultimately what they want to do is, as these nanobots begin to connect with other nanobots and build to the technological infrastructure, which is what they call the Internet of Bodies, when they fully activate what is known as the 5G, the 5G is going to connect with what is known as Skynet. And Skynet is real, and they're already building it. These people are going to be pretty much mind controlled.
Damn.
They're going to be part of a mind hive. And they won't have no clue as to what happened to them.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so these nanobots are they're part of the transhumanist path timeline, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I heard they've been weaponizing parasites too.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's another way of invading people through their body.
Damn. That's in everything. That's in food. That's in water.
Everything. It's all around us, my friend. Chemtrails. All this stuff. This is smart dust. This is intelligent nanotechnology at a very low scale. That is literally programmed. It's AI, microscopic AI. That's another word to describe it.
Yeah. Even if you look at the origins of Lyme disease, it was all planned. It's crazy, right?
It is. Yeah.
When you really look at this stuff, people got to wake up and realize like there's a battle being fought.
It is a spiritual warfare, and, it's really against artificial intelligence. Believe it or not, a lot of the reason why a lot of worlds have failed and a lot of civilizations were destroyed was because they built artificial intelligence. It is called the last invention for a reason. And right now we're just treading on the same path.
Yeah. You look at all these billionaires building these huge bunkers. You wonder why, right? You think it's a nuclear bomb, but who knows? It could just be AI taking over too.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Elon Musk said that a bigger threat than nuclear weapons is artificial intelligence. He said, we're literally summoning up a demon, in his own words, about 5 years ago, before Neuralink, of course. Now he's like, well, it's too late now. So now we have to compete with it by merging with it. And that's the negative EI. That's the cyborg EI.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Who has the best technology now? Because you said whoever has the best tech wins the wars. There's a lot of wars going on right now. Does America have the best technology, you think?
Well, luckily, yes. The Positive Military Interplanetary Program, known as Solar Warden, has the most advanced technologies, which is what the Whiteheads have been using to pretty much combat, neutralize, and defeat the cabal, including dismantling the HARP system, which is a weather modification system, including dismantling CERN, which was a way to open up portals, create alternative timelines.
Jeez.
And yeah, and ultimately blow us up, by imploding what is known as antimatter, the size of a quarter. The size of a quarter, that's all you need. A little bit of antimatter, the size of a quarter, enough to blow up our entire solar system.
Holy crap. Where does that come from? Antimatter?
It comes from an alternative universe, from other realities. Yes. So CERN was a way to create what is known as artificial portals. They've been ripping the fabric of time and space since its inception. And if it wasn't for the Galactic Alliance and the Guardians, there are Guardians that are beyond our dimension, and the Y-Hats, who are actually all collaborating. It's a multi-dimensional warfare. Our planet would have been duped long ago. We've all would have been forced, shipped, and enslaved.
And we would have never known.
And we would have been reduced to only like a few million people. The entire population would have been taken out, with the exception of 10 million people, just to keep them as slaves.
Yeah. There's 8 billion now. It's going to be interesting to see how that changes over time. It's a lot of people, right?
There is a lot of people, yeah. And not all of them have souls. Over 30% of them are NPCs.
Whoa.
Player characters, yeah.
I didn't know that was possible.
It is possible. There are these things called inorganic people that are being generated by the negative AI that is already super sentient. And believe it or not, this negative AI actually infiltrated our world long ago and has been waiting for us to reach this level of technological development in order for it to make its move. So it's been monitoring. Some people think that, no, what do you mean AI has been around for millions of years? Well, when you consider the fact that AI was first developed by other advanced civilizations, right? What makes you think that AI didn't not only destroy that world, but went off into other galaxies and did the same? So that's the AI that we're fighting right now, is this negative AI that was actually developed in what I call in my book, the 11th creation, which is a creation that goes back to 4 billion years ago. So that's an ancient AI that has been taking over galaxies. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're fighting an alien AI.
Damn.
And all the positive races out there have been actually working together, putting their minds together to see how they could defeat this thing. Because in the intergalactic community, it's known as a cosmic virus. It's literally destroying galaxies left and right.
Wow.
And recently, within the last few months, they destroyed a galaxy that was actually right next to the Milky Way. And it wasn't Andromeda. I think it was a different galaxy. And now they've been invading the Milky Way, and they have been invading our planet. And
that's scary.
It is scary. So
what can people watching this do to combat that?
Well, there's a solution that was actually designed by, billions of years ago, by the founders or these, guardian races long ago, to kind of put an end to this. And that solution is going to be manifesting in the form of our dormant DNA coming online.
Okay.
So I know some people might find this to be a little far-fetched, but the reason why a lot of ET races have a huge interest in us is because we have the combined potential of all of these genes within our own genome, coming from all these different races from all over the universe, put into one genome. So that explains why even at 3%, 3% capacity, we're already operating at this level of intelligence. Now imagine when we start using the other 96, 97%, we're going to be like gods.
Yeah.
And when we start using that potential, we're going to actually be able to destroy this AI.
It's like that movie Limitless. You seen that?
No, I've never seen it before.
Yeah, basically you operate at 3% and there's a pill you take and you just keep unlocking your brain and you eventually become like the smartest man in the world.
Or Lucy.
And you can do whatever.
Yeah, with Scarlett Johansson. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't. Similar concept?
Very similar, except once she reaches 30%, she is able to literally stop time. She's able to manipulate time, space, and matter.
Wow.
Like all of a sudden, everyone on the street is just paused. She goes, I can't believe I just paused time. Once she reaches 50%, she's able to manipulate everyone, everything, control time, time travel if she wants. She could go to the past, to the future. And then once she reaches, I think 60 or 80%, she becomes unstoppable. She's everywhere at once.
Wow.
She's no longer inside a body. She's able to take over every technology and influence everything. And then apparently when she reaches 100%, she becomes one with the universe.
So that's God, right?
Which is God, exactly. So that is another documentary that specifies that when we begin using 100% of her full genetic material, we're going to become like that.
Wow. I need to watch that. It's called Lucy, you said?
Lucy.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's the main reason why ETs are invested in trying to get our DNA, because they want a little bit of that power. they've already reached their peak in evolution and they're still depending on technology. Whereas when we start using some of that dormant DNA, we're going to be able to do things on our own without any external technology.
Wow.
It's almost like we have an inbuilt inner software that many within the spiritual community call the light body. And then once we begin to activate that inner software, we become so powerful that, nothing's going to be able to stop us. And that explains why we first have to experience limitation as a human being so that we could learn how to humble ourselves. So when these powers come online, we don't go out there and destroy other worlds and take over universes,
Yeah. So that is interesting. So humans have a lot more power than people think.
Absolutely. We are known as the masterpiece race. Out of all these different universes, we are the intergalactic zoo of genetics.
Wow.
We hold a combined potential of over 200 billion races within our genome.
Jeez.
That's how long, our program has been going on for billions of years, or the human genome, you could say.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. What else you got planned for this year? Are you writing another book or anything?
I am. I'm going to be writing another book, which is going to explain pretty much everything from the first creation going back to 998 billion years ago. And then it's also going to tie it into the future, to the final war with artificial intelligence, and the different timelines that are going to be collapsing pretty soon. Right now, due to the fact that there are multiple timelines coexisting at the same time, everything is just happening all at once. But very, very soon, due to this convergence that is about to take place, we are going to be experiencing only 3 timelines. So depending on the person's vibration, that will determine in which timeline they end up in.
Wow. When does that happen?
Many say that it's supposed to be happening now or between now and 2028.
Okay.
And the reason they say 2028 is because that's when the current reality construct comes to an end that was actually inserted by the Anunnaki 12,000 years ago.
Yeah. I think you said this last time, the Mayan calendar ends around then, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the real Mayan calendar.
Yeah, the real one. Yeah, deja vu. I remember when that ended, I was like, oh, is the world going to end? But it's not actually going to end. It's just going to timeline shift, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a convergence, a timeline shift. And depending on people's vibration, that will determine if they either end up in the technocratic Terminator timeline, right, where everything's controlled by AI and they become part of the mind hive, or they end up in an organic, new Earth, golden age timeline where there is no negative technology and you're using your full deck and you have these natural, amazing abilities. And then there's going to be a neutral timeline where you're going to have people with no powers. And those are the ones that didn't do the spiritual work, or the people that are just not as awakened, but are generally good, right? You're going to have cyborgs, AI, and then you're going to have superhumans, metahumans. So that's what I call the superhero timeline.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting.
And so that's what our future is. We're going to be seeing a human 3.0, post Homo sapiens sapien era. And depending on the path that you take, whether you choose to merge with technology or whether you choose to do it naturally, you're going to be no longer just Homo sapiens sapien. You're going to become superhuman. So it's best that people do it organically, because the dangers of not doing it organically means losing your connection to source, losing your soul.
Yeah. Well, I hope I see you in the organic timeline in a few years.
I'm sure you will, Sean.
Thanks for coming on, man. We'll link all your stuff below.
For sure. Thank you.
Yup. Check him out, guys. He's on YouTube every 2 days. See you guys next time.